Gentlemen, my name is Daylon Pearson. Dee has Skyped in. All right, I will just let people know who I am. Dee has Skyped in, so just want to give you guys a welcome and give you guys a brief message, okay?
Okay, Delon, I'm going to give a welcome, okay?
You got it. It's your time.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear you. Okay, well, I want to welcome everybody to this very special event. I'm Dee Giannetti. I'm chairperson of the Wilmington Commission on Disability, and this is my co-host, Marquis. I'm sorry I can't be there in person. I've been in the hospital, and now I'm in rehab for a problem with my hip. But I'm so excited that everybody's here for this emergency preparedness meeting. I want to introduce two of my commissioners, Robert Oliveri. Robert, can you show yourself? And Carol Hilbear. Carol, can you show yourself? Thank you. And I want to thank Delon Pearson very much for bringing this whole meeting together for us. He's from the Massachusetts Office on Disability, and he will be conducting this training. So, Delon, take it away.
Thank you very much, Dee. Thank you. So before we go ahead and get started, I want to make sure that everyone has the materials. There's going to be 3 pieces of information. 2 of them look very similar. The first one is an emergency preparedness packet. It's going to say Learn, Prepare, Respond. Does everyone have that?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. And the second one, that looks very similar, is a small personal workbook. And on the bottom of that packet, it has a small go kit, an emergency kit on the bottom. Does everyone have that? Last but not least, there's a participation evaluation form. Does everyone have that? That is to be completed at the end of the training. All right? Again, my name is Daylon Pearson. I'm also here with my colleague, Moss Lynch, who's in the back. We are with the Mass Office on Disability. Emergency exits. There are 2 up to your front, left and right. The restrooms are also beyond this emergency exit to your right. There's another emergency exit behind you. If anything was to happen, we will meet in front of the front cars, okay? So with the hood of the cars, I will meet in front of that, behind this building right here, okay? So again, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm with the Mass Office on Disability. Dee, unfortunately, we have to disconnect because I have a PowerPoint on this computer.
Okay, terrific. Everybody enjoy the program.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
So the first packet that we're going to go through is the Learn, Prepare, Respond. Now this packet is a resource packet that has information about emergency preparedness and state resources that you can utilize and benefit before an emergency, sometimes even during an emergency, or even after emergency as well. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah. We're good to go? All right. The purpose of this meeting is to share local emergency preparedness plans. We do this training all throughout the Commonwealth. We've been to, last year we held 55 trainings with 1,800 people in these meetings. 150 of them were first responders, but we go all the way from North Adams to Boston to you name it. We go all over this Commonwealth to provide this type of training. And it's great because we have residents, people with disabilities, people who take care of people with disabilities, and first responders. If you want to know how to have a community preparedness plan, you need everyone to be a part of that plan. I can't plan for what I don't know. Does that make sense? All right, so everyone has an obligation, everyone has a responsibility. So this meeting sets as a platform so that we can have these conversations. If something's not figured out now, it's okay, because now we can have that discussion on how we can resolve those concerns. If you turn to page 1, and each page is going to be numbered at the top right corner. We turn to page 1. Sorry.
No, it's good. Here, just want to announce for the wheelchairs, that the wheelchair accessible is over the bathrooms on this exit.
Okay. Okay. And if you're looking for a restroom that is accessible, wheelchair accessibility, it's going to be to your left, okay? If you turn to page 1, it's going to say Overview of Services. Our agency is located in Boston, directly behind the State House on Ashburton Place. Has anyone ever been there before?
Nope.
No? It's a really, really tall building, right? A lot of floors, but if you need to contact us, our information is right on front. You can contact us via email, you can call us, or go to our website, which is all that information is right on that front page right there, okay? Turn to page 2. We want to know more about what our agency provides. One of the programs that we run is the program that we're in now. Now, this is a grant-funded program, and we've been very, very fortunate for the past now 11 years to receive this grant. This grant is from FEMA through the Homeland Security and Public Safety, all right? Each year, we've been fortunate enough to be able to have this grant, which allows us to purchase all these kits. We get about 1,000 to 1,200 of these kits a year, and we go out and have these meetings with these kits. So without this grant, it would be really hard for us to do this program. So we're really thankful and appreciative of this grant. So part of this program, one of the resources that we also give are these emergency go kits. Now, we will talk about this a little later, but these kits have enough items for about 2 to 4 days for people to shelter in place. Also handed out personal preparedness workbooks. In our new document that we will be giving out starting next month, was just approved. We created a smaller mini workbook so that it folds right into your pocket, okay? Because if something wasn't ever happen, we want to make sure that you can try to have a plan. And instead of flipping through pages and packets, if you have this one sheet that opens up, you can have your basic information, your basic needs. So if someone is trying to assist you, they can know a little bit about you. So we just got that one approved. We created that one in-house, so that will be coming out next month for our trainings. And if you go online next month, you'll be able to download that and have that as well. We also, my colleague Moss Lynch, he goes throughout the Commonwealth to provide ADA trainings and service animal trainings as well to various communities. My supervisor, Jeff Dugan, goes out to provide community access and monitoring, feedback, and guidelines and trainings to various communities in the Commonwealth as well. So if you have any questions about any trainings, you can contact us. We customize a lot of our trainings to whatever that request is. We also have a client service unit. You're able to call them, and they're able to assist you with whether it's discrimination pertaining to a disability, learning more about disability laws, learning more about disability rights, learning more about service animals. You can contact our client service unit, and they will assist you to try to meet your end goal, okay? Now I want to turn to our next page on page 3. Is anyone in this room familiar with the Disability Indicator Program? Has anyone heard of it before?
Not me.
All right, now this is a great program that was utilized to help first responders to help you. What do I mean? Again, earlier I said it is very hard to plan for something if I don't know what or how I need to plan. All right, so this is a voluntary program, okay? Now what I've done is attach pages 4 and pages 5 in here as well, which is the actual application, all right? If you are someone who uses a life support system, mobility impaired, blind, deaf or hard of hearing, speech or cognitive impaired, you can self-volunteer for this program. What this program does is the next time you call 911, obviously in case of an emergency, information you have identified on pages 4 and 5 will be available for the dispatcher. How is that helpful? As a dispatcher, any of that information that you have identified, I can now relay that information over to the first responders. That now allows the first responders a plan and more time to help you understand how they can help you before they get to your location. That saves a lot of time. The information that you must have in this is a landline phone, okay? It must be a hard number and it must be a landline. Yes?
Does every community in the state of Massachusetts do this?
This is for the entire state. This is through the 911 department.
And you're sure every community that I bring that, tell people to bring that?
The state agency created this, the 911 department created this so that it's universal. It's a self-volunteer program. Because again, every town and city is different. Sometimes they have their own registry where you can say, this is what I need, this is disabilities that I may have, but not every town and city has that. So this is a universal form, and it's on their website, and it's for any town and any community to submit to their local police department. Any other questions about this?
I'm sorry, did you say that this is in conjunction with the local police department as well, so they have this on file?
Yes. So when you complete this form, you submit this to the local police department, okay? And again, it's very important to know that the number you have has to be a landline, okay? If any information changes, please update it and please call them and let them know that it needs to be changed or corrected. You may have to fill out a new application, but they will let you know. When you're doing that, call the non-emergency number. Any other questions about this?
Is this easy?
I don't know if it's easy, but it's doable. Is that a good answer for you, Chris? Has anyone we're now on page 6, has anyone gone to a shelter because of an emergency before? Yes, tornadoes will allow you to go to a shelter depending on how close that tornado is. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information about shelters. So I think that some people have a little bit of a misconception on what a shelter is. A shelter is a safe location that provides a roof over your head, okay? And they're going to depend on where that shelter may be, depends on where you are within the Commonwealth. There may be designated shelters within that town or city, or there may be regional shelters. Whatever the case may be, your local emergency team is going to let you know where those shelters are, okay? Sometimes they pre-identify those locations, but they also don't like to do that sometimes because if they tell you this is our main shelter, if something was to happen near that shelter, people will still go to that main shelter. So the best thing you can do is listen for communication. While you are in a shelter, one of the very hardest things to do is to make sure that everyone has a great form of communication. What I mean by that is when a shelter is open, anyone in that community can come to that shelter. Even if you're going through that community, you can go into that shelter. Now, if you are someone who cannot verbally communicate, they created this booklet called the Show Me Booklet. And this is through the Public Health, Department of Public Health. You're also able, if you have a smartphone, and I know not everyone does have a smartphone, but if you do have a smartphone, you can have this booklet preloaded into your phone. It doesn't use any of your data. Or you can simply go online and print out all these photos. Now, how does this booklet help? Let's say I'm someone and I cannot verbally communicate, or maybe English just isn't my first language. I go to a shelter, open up this booklet. I can have a point that I need a translator or that I need sign language interpreter. You want to know which language I need translation for? Well, now I turn that page. There's various languages that you may select so that, again, that you're able to communicate while you're at the shelter so that your needs are met. Each tab has a blank card and blank space. So if there's information that is not identified there, you can simply write that information down. And again, if you have a smartphone, you can text or type all that information down. Other tabs are arrival, and a very important one is medical needs, all right? If something was to happen and you need to seek medical attention, you look for medical staff, first aid kit, oxygen inhaler, etc. You can, again, point to these photos so that, again, you're able to have your needs met. And you can have all this information right in your pocket if you have a smartphone. But what I'm going to do, I have a booklet, and I'm going to leave one here for the town of Wilmington. Again, if you have any laptops, or any smart devices such as a tablet, again, you can have that. You can utilize it so people can, again, get those needs met. Any questions about this app? Yes.
The Show Me booklet, so we could get those at the Department of Public Health, engaged?
Yes.
Like, if I could get like a quantity for our, where Northeast is.
Yes. Yes, I can give you that information. You're going to go to Mass Clearinghouse. All right, you go to Mass Clearinghouse, it's going to be under Emergency Preparedness. They have a variety of items. They have tote bags, they have a medicine pill containers, and they have these booklets. And you can order these in various amounts of quantities, and if you would like to have more than what the limit is, simply give them a call. Yeah, simply give them a call or email them, all right?
Mass Clearinghouse?
Mass Clearinghouse, you're going to go to Emergency Preparedness. And this is called the Show Me Booklet. You're welcome. And it's free of charge.
Awesome.
Any other questions before we move on? Turn to our next page, page 7, the Mass Alert app. Now, this is another tech-savvy thing, but this is for smartphones as well. However, if you do not have a smartphone, it's okay. Because the same way we receive our notification via the television, watching the news, or listen to the radio, the Mass Alert app does the same thing. Just now, it sends those alerts to your phone, okay? What's unique about this app is that you can customize it so that you can just get notifications about Wilmington, but maybe you want notifications about Worcester, Woburn, Billerica, whatever it is. You can channel it so that you get all those notifications. You may have residents who live in Holyoke and Pittsfield, and you want to be able to alert them and let them know what may be going on in their area as well. All right, so it'll customize and send you those information and send you those updates and alerts. And that's called the Mass Alert app. But again, it's the same way that you have the notifications via the news and via the radio. Yes?
Say that the phone automatically, without even giving the app, if there's an angle or like an alert of, and your phone already sends it to you, would you still have to get the app or?
That's going to be up to you. I do know, I would recommend that you do, because most of the droids and smartphones, no matter what happens, typically if there's an Amber Alert or sometimes a flash flood warning, it just goes off, right? Sometimes it just goes off. And I think if you have to change your settings in your device for it to not do that. But normally, if you never touch your settings, it's going to go off. Now, that's a little bit different from this, because that can be any emergency, all right? It can be a blizzard, tornado, it can be floods, whatever the case, and they'll just be sending you updates about what's going on, okay? So I personally think the more the merrier, but that's going to be up to you, okay?
I just wanted to clarify.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, moving on. We're on page 8. Has anyone had to utilize or have anyone heard of the silent call procedure? All right, a few people, great. Now this procedure was created again to help those who are seeking 911 services, again, who may not be able to verbally communicate, all right? No matter what happens, they're making that phone call because they need those services. So what happens is the line gets connected, you call 911, the dispatcher picks up. You may not be able to say anything, right? But the line is still connected. So what dispatchers are trained to do is that if that line is still connected, to first check for TTY. If there's no TTY, then they'll go into what's called the silent call procedure. And they should announce that we're now going to go into what's called the silent call procedure. If you need the police department, press the number 1 on your phone. To confirm that, press 4 for yes or 5 for no. If you need the fire department, press the number 2 on your phone. To confirm that, press 4 for yes or 5 for no. If you need EMS services, press the number 3 on your phone. To confirm that, press 4 for yes or 5 for no. Now, I know those are a lot of numbers, so you don't have to remember all those numbers, but just know that each time you press a number on that phone, a certain signal is going to show up on the dispatcher's computer. So they're going to see what you are pressing, and they're going to try to confirm whatever it is that you are pressing so that they make sure that they can get the right resources to you. Yes?
Is this only for landlines?
This is only, actually no. There's a new system called the Next Gen system. So it should work with any phone that allows you to press numbers. Now there are some phones where there's only, there's a yes or a no, and that would not work because you need to press these certain numbers. But with the update, yes, it is now. Typically speaking, from the feedback that I've heard, a lot of times this procedure is used for domestic violence situations, but it also can just be very useful for someone who may be nonverbal or English is not their native language, and they're trying to, again, make sure that they get those services via 911. Does that make sense? Any other questions before we move on? Making an emergency kit. So before we added this information in, we always tell people, build a kit, customize your kit, all right? And everyone goes, well, it's easier said than done. What do I put into these kits? What items do I need to have? So we added pages 9 and pages 10, all right? If you look at page 10, there's gonna be a longer list of items that you can continue to build and customize your kit. Why? Because depending on that emergency, your bag is going to change. However, when we designed this kit, we said if you do absolutely nothing after this meeting, at least you have some items to get you through something, okay? But it's up to you, it's your responsibility that these are now your kits. So customize those kits for your needs. It's going to, again, change depending on what that emergency is. If it's the winter time, maybe I want to have some blankets or a small jacket or a hoodie in there. If it's the summertime, maybe I want to have a few bottles of water, all right? Depending on what that emergency is, it's very important that you customize your kit. You have items on pages 9 and pages 10 that you can utilize to give you an idea of how you can continue to customize and build that kit. If you were to use all these items, you need to replace them or they were damaged. A lot of these items can be found in the camping sections and hunting sections of stores such as Kmart, or Walmart, or Dick's Sporting Goods, okay? They have a wide variety of food options, dried food, just dried fruit, vegetables, and they have food rations as well, okay? I recommend if you like to have, you can have granola bars, protein powder always works if you have water. Also if you have any canned goods and peanut butter as well. I'm going to show you the items that are in these kits. This is now the 4th time that we've changed the items in these bags. Every couple of years we're able to send out a survey and get some feedback. What items work? What items are you using? What items aren't you using? So that way that when we give you these kits, we know that it can actually add value.
First piece of the kit, needle.
Not a needle, but this is a small fanny pack. Now, it may be silly, right? But if you need to have all your important valuables, your medication, your insulin, cell phone, chargers, any of that information, if you need to leave your home, instead of you searching around your house, you're going to have all that information right here on your waist. Especially if you have to go to a shelter. When you go to a shelter, there could be hundreds of people in that shelter, right? You don't want to be fumbling around. You don't want to lose things that you're going to need that are very important to you. So you can keep all that right here on your waist, right in this bag. Now, this is a small personal hygiene kit. Toothbrush, shampoo, deodorant, all right? And it also has this small tablet right here. It's a small white tablet. And once you add water to this tablet, it becomes a foam face cloth, all right? Personal hygiene, just gonna allow you to take care of yourself during that emergency. There's 2 emergency ponchos, and they're bright red, and they have the hood, but it's bright red for visibility in case it's excessive rain and it may be nighttime, all right? You wanna try to make yourself as visible as possible. So if someone who may be able to assist you can actually do so. There's also 2 emergency blankets, and they're used for heat purposes. Now, these blankets are designed so that once they are wrapped around you, they help to keep your body temperature up. Simply, I like to think of it as when you put food in foil, that heat generates and bounce back. Very similar concept. But I have to tell you that once you open this up, it is very hard to fold it like this again. I tried and didn't quite make it. A small personal emergency kit, first aid kit. It has gauze pad, alcohol cream, bandages. If you are able to self-treat, by all means do so. If you get a cut or wound, clean it up, cover it up with the Band-Aid. What you don't want to happen is for that cut or that wound to get infected and to spread. Now you have another emergency within an emergency, just cause a little chaos. If you can self-treat, by all means do so. If you cannot, let emergency paramedics know that. Yes? You had a question?
Do you have a mask too? A mask for CPR?
I do not have a mask in there, but you can add that to your kit. So you can have a mask in your bag.
I'm just curious.
Now this is an emergency purified drinking water, and there's 8 packages in each of these. Now water itself does not have an expiration date, but depending on what we package that water in, we deem it's unsafe to continue to drink that water. Most bottled water that we have a shelf life of about, about a year to a year and a half. This, because it's packaged so that there's no sunlight able to get inside, which means that there's no bacteria able to get inside as well. So this water expires in October 2022. Now, this is enough water for one person drinking moderately for about 4 days, 2 people for about 2 days. You can use this for personal hygiene, for medication, or for drinking water as well, right? But if you know that you go through water very often, then maybe, again, having a small couple bottles of water in there may be very helpful as well. And there's just tissue in the bag because you never know when you're going to simply just need tissue. For another heating source, there's 4 hand warmers. Each hand warmer will last for about 10 hours. You can use these behind your neck for a little heating source, underneath your underarms. Yes, you may. For your hands or for your feet as well, to provide you with a low heat source. This is a glow stick, which is more so used for a symbol of an emergency. Some people said that if there was ever something to happen, they can put this in their window so a neighbor may know what's going on. Or if they're in their car, someone drives by, they may know what's going on. But this will last for about 12 hours, and it's a very easy bin, and it provides you with a very low light source. This is a can opener. I know it may sound silly, but if it's an emergency and we are leaving our home, we all have canned goods, right? Some of them have the pull tabs, but if it does not have the pull tab, how are you getting that can open? I know it sounds silly, but I know if I had an emergency, the first thing I'm thinking about is not having a can opener, all right? So we added that in the bag for you. Another item that may seem silly, but this is a whistle, all right? And I think this is important because if you live home, by yourself, or you have caregivers, but they're not there 24 hours, right? If something was to happen behind closed doors, who is going to know what's going on in your home? How are you going to get help, all right? So if you are home alone or your caregiver is not there, or maybe they may be sleeping, I recommend put this whistle on. If you fall, you can't get up, something happens, you can alert this whistle so that the goal is to have someone hear it to say what's going on, who's blowing that whistle, and someone's going to try to figure out and be able to provide assistance. Does that make sense? But don't go around your neighborhood just blowing that whistle, okay? I won't be happy about that. Last but not least, this is my favorite tool. This is a 4-in-1 emergency flashlight. Now this provides you with low light, bright light, and if your phone fits on this adapter, it can charge your phone and provide you with a radio. Got to find a station, right? Provide you with a radio and an alert siren. I think this is a very helpful tool, and this all is utilized by a cranking system, all right? So if power goes out, you have some low light, you have some bright light, right? If your phone is dead and your phone fits on this adapter, you can wind this up to get just enough charge to your phone to make that call to 911 services. If you're sheltering in place, you want to hear about communications, find your local channel and hear about what's going on. Do you need to leave? Is there a shelter open? Are you safe to leave your home? Are you able to resume? All right? All with this one, too. This is honestly my favorite tool in the bag. All right? So those are all the items that we have in this kit, and there's so much space left. Again, so to allow you to continue to customize and add to that bag. Before we move on, are there any questions? Am I talking too fast? I get real excited about this. Yes, in the back. Excuse me, sorry? There's not batteries, no, not for that, no. That all works by cranking.
They're not necessary.
Dog food. Oh, you have pets. If you have pets and animals, yes. You know what? So you're jumping a little ahead, but I like where you're going. We're talking about that in a little bit, okay, if you have pets and animals. Vital records. It's very important. This is your identity. If you lose everything during an emergency, it's a little hard to restore life after that emergency without some of these documents. But again, this is your identity. So be very careful and be mindful with where you store these documents. Some people, they simply just have a few photocopies, put it in a Ziploc bag, add them to their kit. Some folks who are a little tech savvy, they take photos of them and have it on their phone. My boss has all his on a flash disk, and there's a password, so when he plugs that in, he knows the password to access all those documents. I recommend, again, having some of these documents so that if something happens, right, we hope that it never happens, but if it ever did happen, if we had to leave the Commonwealth, you may have to restart life in a different state or community, right? You want to get life restored and get things going to the way they were before that emergency. So this will help. Also, what would help is having photos. Let's say you go to a shelter, right? The emergency, maybe getting closer to the shelter, so now you have to go to a different shelter, right? So you may not go in that same vehicle, transportation with your main family, right? So having some photos will be very helpful. Have you seen this person? Have you seen this animal? Have you seen this? All right? Do that ahead of time.
Person that.
Now to the animals. You ready for the animals? All right. 2014, Mass passed a bill to allow pets into shelters. However, every town and city has a different approach of how they do that. Some towns and cities will have pets into the main shelter, or they would designate a specific area location for those pets, whether it's locally or regionally. All right? The main thing that you have to do is listen for communication, because they would tell you where they want you to go and where they want your pets and animals to go as well. Just like how you prepare for yourself, it's important that you prepare for your pets and animals as well. Hurricane Harvey. People left their animals behind. Rescues had to go back out and get those pets. Hurricane Katrina. People stayed home with their pets and their animals, all right? So the Commonwealth wants to find a solution or a medium so that if we have to leave, there's a place to go for you and a place to go for your pets as well. Now, if you have a service animal, the animal goes wherever you go at any point in time, whether it's emergency or non-emergency. There's only 2 animals allowed in the Commonwealth to be a service animal, and the most common one that we know is a dog. The second one is a miniature pony. And the reason behind it, well, there's multiple reasons, but they do have a long life expectancy, but also they are sometimes of a larger capacity, so if someone needs more assistance or a stronger assistance, if they are mobility impaired, they can also help them as well. But they are also trained to do the same exact things as a service dog as well. Service animal, again, goes wherever you go. Now, that is completely different from an emotional support animal, all right? If that shelter opens up and they say, if you have a service animal, you're absolutely fine, but all other animals go to that location, then that emotional support animal will have to go to where all the other pets and animals are. Does that make sense? Because I know there's a huge gray area about emotional support animals and service animals. Any questions before we move on? Yes, in the back.
Yes, mental dog, but for the person who, for example, is blind and they have a CNI dog, or for example, someone that is a support dog.
So I heard an example of someone have a seeing dog. I didn't hear the last part. Seeing eye dog. Support dog. So.
If a person fell or something, the dog would sense that the person fell or something.
So what will happen is, again, if that animal is a service animal, the animal goes wherever that person is. They help them maintain their daily functions, right? The animal will always be with you, always be with them. Now, emotional support animal, that they can put them in a different location, and that can be outside that building, or if they have the capacity for in-house housing the animals, they can be there as well. I'll give an example. Springfield, they have a vehicle that has 55 cages, right? So when there's an emergency and they open up a shelter, that vehicle sits right outside so that people are able to, on a day-to-day basis, come back out, walk their animals, feed their animals, and take care of their animals as well. All right? Now, that looks different wherever you go. Some people have the capacity for that. Others don't. They may say, all right, all animals are here, and all people and people with service animals are over this location as well. The best thing you can do is to listen to communication, because they will always tell you when and where that location is going to be opened up at. Yes?
If it's not a service animal, say your pet, do you have to bring them in a crate?
A lot of people will, a lot of the personnel at the shelters will recommend that, because it will allow them, it kind of give your pet a little bit of a safety net. Because sometimes if you bring all these pets and animals, so let's say we had to go to a school, right? We said a school was our shelter. We have the capacity upstairs to house the animals, right? There are going to be people who donated crates to have those animals, but do they honestly, if everyone brings their pets and animals, do you think every animal is going to be caged in? No. But so some people, they think that it helps that pet because, again, they're going through an emergency just like you are. This is not their norm, right? So I think that it does help, and it definitely helps with making your pet a little bit more comfortable. It's their scent.
But it's not something that they have to.
I don't think, yes, I don't think so, but I think that they will like that if you can do it, by all means do it. But we all know that if it's an emergency and Time is limited. Are you going to go home and look for that cage? No. Make sure you get safe first. Great question. Thank you.
Is it hygiene illegal to bring your own pets?
You can bring your own pets. Yeah. Yeah, you can bring your pets.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, you can bring your own pets, Chris. Another story that I heard in Springfield again, when you do bring your pets and animal, also just be mindful of what you're bringing into the shelters. Because there was a 2012, I think they had a microburst, and they had some pets into the shelters. But what they failed to realize that they told everyone to bring everything in. And what happened was there was cats, there were snakes, there were dogs, there was livestock. That doesn't quite work out well if you don't plan for it, all right? So when you talk to your local emergency team, ask that question, what animals can we bring to the shelters? What do you have the capacity for? To be mindful, because I know if I'm in a shelter, the last thing I want to see is a snake slithering across from me. I'm okay with it. No thank you. Any other questions? We're now going to move on to page 14. Has anyone heard of Mass 211? Mass 211. Someone, maybe? Never heard of it? It's been around for more than a decade. Resources. At any point you're looking for just simple resources, simply pick up your phone, dial the numbers 211. You can say, this is the resource that I'm looking for. Can you point me in that direction? All right? They speak multiple languages. They have translators. They're always available. Even if you want to go to a movie, where's the nearest movie theater in this location, right? Veteran services, literacy classes, etc. There's a great deal of resources available on Mass 211. Now, what's unique about Mass 211 is that if there is an emergency and they're activated by MEMA or your town or city, they can provide you information about what that emergency is and if there's a shelter open. Okay? They can also provide that information. But if you are in immediate danger, what number do we always call? You got an answer for me? Chris said it. You're right. If you are in immediate danger, always call 911. 211 will be for information and resources. Another program on page 15 is a program called Mass Options. All right? If you're someone who's looking for in-home services, therapeutic services, day services, substance abuse, mental health services, you can contact Mass Options. They have a trained specialist. So that specialist is going to work with you to assist you with connecting you to those resources. Okay? And the goal is to help people try to live independently, but provide and connecting them to those resources. And that program is called Mass Options. On page 16, this is a Reacquaint Program. This is for durable medical equipment and devices. If you need a power chair, a stroller, stander, you can contact the program. They have 4 locations throughout the Commonwealth, and all of the equipment that they have are stored at these 4 locations, but all of them have been donated. So if you have a device that you no longer use, please donate it, because someone can actually benefit from those devices. Okay? You can call them. You can say, this is what I'm looking for. Do you have this device available? All right? It's free of charge, and they deliver to the central Boston. They deliver to Boston and central Mass. You can go online and you can see some of the devices. They have some of these photos, or you can simply give them a phone call and say, this is the device that I'm looking for. Do you have it available? Or again, if you'd like to donate it, you can also donate them as well. Any questions? Yes.
I have a question about transportation to a shelter. So say somebody here in Wilmington is blind, and obviously, say, the hurricane is coming. How is that person to get to the shelter? Is there any kind of arrangements here within the community?
That is a great question. I'm going to ask, do you have an answer for that?
As far as the transportation goes, we would make best effort of use of public transportation, our own in-town vehicles, government-owned vehicles, and we would also look to private transportation. But as far as, it would depend on what the type of emergency is. There's, you know, if we have to move massive amounts of people, if we have to move 1 or 2 people, or something in between that.
So that was a big issue with Katrina, is people who are disabled, besides people who have pets who didn't leave. It's the people who are in the community who are disabled. So I work with people who are blind. Obviously, none of them are driving. And so every community I go to, I constantly ask the question is, what should they do if they need to leave? And so as a community of Wilmington, I think we need to think about how we would handle that situation. Because we have here, I live here in Wilmington, and we have a large population of seniors who can no longer drive because of vision loss, and maybe don't have neighbors or don't have family members who are going to pick them up. And we have, top of my head, I can think about 8 young people, 20s, 30s, who live independently here in the community, and they would not be able to get out if all of a sudden there is an issue that they need to leave for. So would they call 911?
Well,
Would they
I
call the
think
town?
one of the takeaways from this presentation is going to really end up being starting at page 1 right here.
Okay.
And building those blocks right there, as opposed to starting at page 15 and saying, what do we do then? So getting kind of on board with what is on page 1, what's the first order of business that I really need to do? And that voluntary program where a particular address may be flagged for somebody that's mobility impaired, or somebody that may have other difficulties or something like that, is really kind of the step 1. It's next to impossible for the police department
Sure.
to know these things unless they're brought to us. So that's kind of, we will, you know, one of the takeaways that I'll bring back to the police department is to put this type of thing out on our social media platforms with our social media officer, and we'll get this ball rolling right here with that. And that transportation issue probably will be answered or will be worked on once that ball gets rolling.
Okay.
I don't have a specific answer for you right now.
Okay.
If you needed the transportation, yes. In an emergency, yes, it's the 911 route. But this is like a game plan for a football game. What do we do if we're getting deep in this particular way?
So I think that's great, and that's why I was very encouraged to see the town do something like this, because I think we as a community, we need to plan.
Yes.
And that we need to know who's in our community and how they would deal with emergencies, and especially if you cannot get to the shelter if you need to.
Correct, yes, absolutely. That's, like I said, that's the takeaway that I'll bring back to the police department, and we'll certainly work on that type of thing. And we'll get this information that's here. I mean, we have a small audience here, but we'll expand on this exponentially through social media platforms to get this particular information out there, and to let people know some of just the very easy and small things that they can do to assist in the event of some type of natural or natural disaster or some type of emergency situation where people need to be moved or they need help at a particular location. And of course, if it's something big, 911 gets overwhelmed sometimes, and this is going to do a lot to help people realize that, and to help people almost self-treat themselves, almost like he said about putting a Band-Aid on a cut. People will be able to self-help themselves with this type of preparedness.
So, and hopefully it would bring communication that maybe people should start to locate their neighbors and let neighbors know that
Absolutely.
if something happens and there's a big snowstorm and I don't drive, maybe you could help me out.
Correct,
I need
yes.
assistance.
We've come a long way in terms of communication since I started on the job. I mean, when I started here 30 plus years ago, I didn't even have a portable radio when I went out on patrol. So if I got out of the car, I wasn't able to talk to anybody. So in terms of communication, especially on electronic platforms, we've come leaps and bounds. So we're able to take this and just package it up and get it out to a greater number of people than are sitting here now. And that's one of the things that as soon as I leave here, we'll work on doing.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is a really great conversation right there, because this meeting is set as a platform. What are the community's concerns? What are the needs of the community, right? And then again, in order for people to plan, they need to know. So I will say that I think that you know who you might want to connect with. I think you guys need to do some work offline and continue that conversation, because again, it is a concern, right? And you all bring up both very valuable points, especially for our neighbors. If you see that your neighbor has mail 3-4 days, and right, if the mail is still piling up, just go by it and just check and see if they're okay, right? And it's really important. And when you're creating a plan, right, if you want to include someone in your plan, have that conversation. Hey, I'm someone and I'm unable to drive. If there was a situation, would you be willing to take me to this location or to a nearest shelter? Have that conversation with your neighbors, and absolutely have that conversation with your loved ones as well. That was a really great and important dialogue, and I think it needs to continue, because there is no answer for every single thing that's going to come up. But I'd rather you start talking about it now than to wait for it to happen and then start talking about it afterwards. So thank you both for that. Thank you. So before we move on, does anyone have any other questions for me? So I'm gonna briefly talk about a personal workbook, but that workbook is really for you to review at your own time. So before I do that, does anyone have any questions about anything that we just went over within that resource packet?
This could be a great way to learn some stuff.
Oh, I think you're right, Chris. I hope you guys are learning some stuff. I hope so. Now this next packet, this is for you to create and fill out at your own time. Now that packet, it has information for you to complete with your emergency contacts. Again, if you have a neighbor, right, and you need to evacuate, have them in it. You can write down your medications, any allergies, any equipment that you may be using, right? It's for you to create your own personal preparedness plan. If something was to happen, it's an emergency, I know me, I forget things. But having this hard copy, right, I leave and I go, all right, this is who I need to call. This is where I need to go. Make sure that I'm able to do that, all right? Do I have this in check? Yes. Do I have this in check? Yes. All right, so again, it's for you to create your own personal preparedness plan, okay? And what's really important is we've recently added sheltering in place tips, because unfortunately we now live in a day and age where there's more than just natural disasters, all right? There's medical related emergencies as well, but we also live in a world where there's a lot of man-caused disasters, right? Where it's recommended that you shelter in place, all right? So it gives you various tips for how you can shelter in place. Now, every town and city, and you'll find this information in that packet, every town and city has someone deemed an emergency management director who is responsible for coordinating that town or that city's plan. In that packet, you can find the link or the website so you can go and contact them. Usually, it is someone out of the fire department or police department. If it's a larger city, they typically have a smaller agency for that, all right? So again, does anyone have any questions for me? Yes. Yes. So for that program, it has to be a landline. But do you guys have a reverse 911 or code red?
We do have reverse 911. Also, the 911 is obviously still answered if you dial on a cell phone, but it goes to a regional communications center, who then would call the actual physical location wherever it may be. For instance, the town of Wilmington Public Safety Dispatch Center at the Public Safety Building. So if you were to call 911, it would go, there would be a middleman included in that, where the 911 call would go. And that's probably the reason why it can't be done at this particular time. I don't know, I don't have personal information about if there's anything in the plans to, as people discard their landlines in their homes and go to cell phone only type thing. And I know some people that I work with, and I personally very rarely use my landline at all. It's mostly cell phone only, and so that's something that they're probably looking into as far as the communication goes. But that's the 911 call will be answered, but it's not going to have that type of information connected to it at this particular time.
So can I respond to something like, so if she gave you her husband's information, saying that he had some mobility issues to the town of Wilmington Police Department.
Internally, we can flag that particular address with some lines on what any pertinent information about the person living there may be. But it's not going to be that particular type of thing. So if we were to have your address, and we would say these are the concerns for this address, so we flag that, we would flag addresses briefly, but it's not connected. It's an internal thing. It's not connected to that particular program.
You can register a cell phone at this time to reverse 911 system, or for this town, or is it only going to landline?
I think it's only landline right now. I'll check on that for you. I can take your name before I leave and check to see how that, I don't personally do it myself, but to see how the actual reverse goes, if it's only landlines or if you could have cell phones. I think cell phones can be included if they're provided, type thing. So, see me before we leave here.
Sure.
And
I think you can now do, in North Andover told me this last week I was there, and the people in North Andover told me that reverse 911 can't use cell phones, if that's the number you added.
yes, I'm pretty sure.
And also sometimes they have the capacity to do emails as well. But not everyone is checking the email for an emergency, but they do have that capacity sometimes as well. So any other questions for me? Are you all ready to get your kids? You ready? Oh, not yet, Chris, not yet. Do you guys in the back, do you guys have anything you would like to add? Any information? Yeah, question for me? Yes.
You need help with what? What do you need help with?
What do you need help with?
What do you want to ask me? Okay, well, think about it. If you think about it, we'll help you.
All right. And I'm going to be here after the training, okay? Any other questions? Any other comments? I think this was a great meeting, definitely. And I'm very happy that you guys had that conversation because, again, I'd much rather you have that conversation now because those are real concerns, right? We're literally dealing with life situations that you need to start to address. But I think that, again, try to get involved and figure out what it is you can do or information you can help provide so that the first responders, they can plan for that. It goes hand in hand, okay? Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. So the last piece of information that everyone has is a participation evaluation. Any feedback is very valuable because all this information gets put into our database. If you like something, you can write that. If you dislike something, you can also write that as well. You know, our goal is to educate and try to have a platform connect. Yes?
I do have an answer as far as the reverse 911 call goes. The system is set up so if you provide a cell phone number, you can get calls or text messages or emails from our reverse 911 system. So you can sign up for it on the town's website, you can sign up for it on the police department's website, or you can go in person to the police department. So that has that capability. So yes, if you provide the number, the emergency, and it's TTY also, so whatever type of communication is needed can be customized like that.
Is that just for Wilmington?
That's our own
Okay, so
internal,
we should check
that's our
out
own
the towns.
internal system. It's called the Everbridge system.
So we should just check out with our own towns?
Your own, oh, you're not from Wilmington, yes, check with your own towns to see if they have that. But yes, that would be if the Wilmington. Police
Yes.
Department-
Bill Ricker does have it. We did 2 trainings in Bill Ricker. They do have it. But call the non-emergency number. Or you can also, but if you go online, you go to the town's website, you can enter the information on the town. Yes.
Are these booklets, we print these out online?
Oh, yes. All these documents, if you go to mass.gov/MOD, which is the Mass Office on Disability, you can have that document. You can also see a map of all the locations that we've been to. I thought I had one. But all the handouts you will have online, and you can print it all out and utilize it. Spread it out. Information. It's public information, okay? Chris, yes.
So, when I was little, I made a mistake calling 911.
I did too. Oh, that was pretty bad. I did too. I did the same thing.
Oh, maybe you could maybe help me with this.
Have you made that mistake again?
Don't. Yeah, I did too. I was young, and I thought it was a nice idea to play on the phone. And you happen to call 911, and I hung up, and they showed up to my house. And I go, oh, man. It was just me and my grandmother. I'm like, obviously, well, so yeah, I was in trouble.
Funny story about 911 about 15 plus years ago. I went to a 911 call. With the police department responds to every 911 call. And regardless of whether somebody answered the phone, they say, I'm okay, we'll go and check it out anyway. So even if somebody hangs up, if the phone is disconnected, we always go and check it out. But I went to one probably about 15 years ago where a duck called 911. It was a bond, and the person had a variety of animals, some horses, some chickens, and they had a duck. And the duck knocked the phone off the base in the bond and was pecking at the phone. He didn't actually dial 911. There is the red emergency button that dials 911 with just the press of one button. So the duck pressed in his, and pecking at the phone, pressed the 911 button itself. It got connected to the police department. I went on the call, and a duck called 911. We go to every call like this. We get a call from 911, we go, whether it's a person or a duck or whoever calls. So we'll be there.
Maybe I could maybe you could.
Yes. The landline is disconnected, don't have service. What you have is the phone plugged into it, and still call 911.
So sometimes, the whole purpose of the landline is literally so that it's a hard line that you can't call 911. As long as that power line hasn't been knocked out, if you have the phone that plugs into the wall, not the cord, but plugs in,
Yeah.
you should be able to some type of service.
So that might get some stuff there, landline.
So there's plenty of handouts in the back. Please take those handouts. But I'm going to ask you to all complete your participation evaluation form. Once you complete that, you come find me. If you have any questions, you can ask me, but then I will give you, or Moss will give you an emergency kit, okay? So please complete that evaluation form. Again, thank you all very much.